226 right now, and you know, the Trump administration just announced a landmark deal that would expand Medicare coverage to weight loss drugs like Ozempic, Wegovy, Zepbound, and Mounjaro. They are all very popular, and most of them have very high costs attached to them. I want to bring in now Dr. David Kim from UChicago. He's a professor in the Biological Sciences Division to talk a little bit more about these drugs that are already on the market and this big announcement that was just made. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So let me just start off with your reaction to the deal.
Yeah, so it was obviously a big surprise. There has been like a long debate about the prices for these obesity drugs was too high, and then how we're gonna cut those prices so that we can ensure the access to these drugs that help with the people with obesity and other conditions, access to the important drugs that help with them. And then price is one of the main barriers for patient access to it. Because price is too high, and then the size of the populations that potentially take these drugs are really large, and also these drugs ask patients to take this drug indefinitely to keep those benefits. So given these, payers has been very extremely hesitate to cover this drug. So this is a substantial cut in the prices, really big wins for the patients who have been struggle with obesity and other conditions. Now they have access to these drugs.
Now, when we talk about high cost, what does that actually look like for some of these?
Yeah, so again, it used to be the list prices or sticker prices runs like over $1,000 per month. But the new prices will announce substantially cut down, but there is a little nuances because the new prices will actually vary depending on which product you're getting, what dose you're gonna getting, and then actually how you're gonna paying for this. So some of you seeing this kind of lowest price advertised is $149 for oral pills. This oral pill is actually not yet FDA approved, so not available on the market. So what the new deal says that if this new oral pills becomes available on the market, then they'll get it at the $140 for the starting pill. But in this drug, obesity drug, they generally start with the low dose and then slowly escalating the dose. And then when they escalate dose, the prices will go higher. So that's what you're seeing in the lowest prices. Then what prices actually people pay? Let's start with the Medicare. So those with the Medicare, the out-of-pocket cost or the copay we call is the $50 for those who are eligible to access to this drug. And then what it means by eligible is that even before this announcement, people can have access to this drug if they have a diabetes, heart disease, and then sleep apnea. So now under the new deal, actually more new people can access to this drug if you are BMI, body mass index over 27 with a pre-diabetes, your BMI over 30 with uncontrolled hypertension, kidney disease, heart failure, and then if you're BMI over 35, now you can get access to these drugs if you're on the Medicare and then a $50 copay. What if you're on the Medicaid? Medicaid actually variations by the state, but this new deal actually allows state Medicaid agency to purchase this drug at a $250, which is the same prices that Medicare pays. And then once you're on the Medicaid, patients generally pay almost no out-of-pocket cost. So if state Medicaid programs sign up for this, then patients with a Medicaid should have access to this drug without almost minimum copay. For those who are, don't have insurance, Trump RX, which is kind of proposed new websites, they can actually directly purchase this drug at $350 for Wegovy, and then starting $299 for Zepbound, and then increase the price up to $449 when they reach the escalating dose. So this is kind of the prices. It's much cheaper than what we generally pay, but also new prices will vary depending on how you actually pay.
Okay, and for those of you who are researchers at the University of Chicago, I understand you all have just had 2 new studies that you're really looking at the cost effectiveness.
Right.
So
So the
what did you
cost
find?
effectiveness, again, cost effectiveness basically, these drugs provide a lot of great benefits. We know for sure. And then the cost effectiveness basically means that whether there is a value for money, the money that we spend can be justified by the great benefits that we provide. And then with these new prices, although our team is actually working on updating our prior studies, but it does seem the extremely good value for money with the new prices.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. And talk about some of the effects. When you, I mean, obviously there's the diabetes aspect of this, and there's the obesity aspect of this. And it seemed
Right.
like in the beginning, when a lot of these drugs came on the market, that in and of itself was controversial. That it was first for diabetes, but then people who wanted to lose weight were starting to use it, and people who have diabetes couldn't get it.
Right. So I think that you mentioned is great that only, later in 2022, when people kind of excited about this kind of weight loss components of this kind of GLP-1 drugs, then people kind of jump on it. And then the manufacturer of these drugs were not ready to respond to this surge in demand. So there is a period that people like to get it, but they're unable to get it because of the supply restrictions. Those issues has largely been reserved because the manufacturer ramping up their supply chains, and then they building new factories to meet those surge demand. So I don't think that there is any issue with the access if they want.
So obviously, if there's a way for people to get it at lower cost, more people would then likely get it. Do you think that we or these manufacturers are ready for that type of influx of people?
I do think so, because this has been like the ongoing negotiations, that this is not new, particularly for semaglutide or Wegovy. It actually the part of the drug price negotiations effective in 2027. So I do think that manufacturers have prepared for the surge demands, and then they're ready for this.
So what do you think? I feel like, again, when they first came out, there were a lot of misnomers, a lot of controversy surrounding them, and they kind of got normalized a bit in time. But what do you think are some maybe lesser known benefits of these drugs, or maybe some aspects of them that still just aren't understood?
Absolutely. So we know a lot from the studies that it shows that the GLP-1 now provided not just benefits for weight loss, but also there are a lot of clinical benefits beyond the weight loss, including preventions of secondary heart disease, and then slowed progressions of the chronic kidney disease, improvement in obstructive sleep apneas, and then improvement in the metabolic liver disease. So all these benefits are kind of that make people think that, this is actually works very well. But there is also unknowns that this drug's supposed to take indefinitely, and then there are a lot of other studies shows that once people discontinue use these drugs, then they quickly regain those weight they lost during those the treatment period. So how we are gonna balance or prevent this weight regain? Also, this supposed to be take indefinitely to keep weight off. Then what is really the long-term effect of using this drug? And then there are some long-term studies going on, but we have not seen the clear evidence on that. So I'd be cautious about the long-term effects of the GLP-1 use. But in a short term, a lot of trials shows that it is actually highly effective in the weight loss and provided clinical benefits beyond the weight loss.
Yeah, that aspect of long-term use, I think, is something that definitely gives pause. And what are some of the things that you can already see that could be problematic in long-term use?
Yeah, so one of the key things that people also thinking a lot about the weight loss, but weight has the muscle and fat proportions. So when they lose the weight, then they also lose the muscle weight as well. And then when they lose a lot of weight, particularly this might be the more important issues with the older population, that they actually lose the muscle as well. Then they more fragile to the fall. So these are something that I be cautious. And then obviously, doctors will probably know best about whether the GLP-1 is the best treatment options to treat the obesity in your and then in patients' cases.
Yeah, and when people are taking these drugs, what are some of the other things that they need to do to prevent the drugs from being a crutch?
So I think it's still, important to, from my, again, my perspective, that is, it is important to keep the healthy exercise, diet, and then exercise, not just relying on the drug itself, but drug is really helping you to lose a lot of weight. But once you lose a lot of weight, then it's important to think about how you're gonna healthy maintenance of the weight. That may not be just continued use of the GLP-1, but intensive exercise and nutrition therapy. Those could be the part of the wholesome approach to manage the obesity.
Yeah, and I'd like you to address, how quickly these drugs evolve, because I remember in the 90s when fen-phen was really big, and everyone wanted to jump on fen-phen, and then it became very problematic. Then there were lawsuits, but every few years we get something that kind of comes out like this is a miracle for people, but like you said, we don't know what the long-term outlook of it is.
Right. So I think that's where we have to keep monitor about the ongoing studies and then the future evidence about the long-term effects on the GLP-1 use. But still, like for now, based on what we know, I think still it's pretty safe and then highly effective to treat obesity and then those with obesity with the other conditions. So again, I think that this is the really big policy moments to ensure access to these drugs at the much more affordable prices for the people who need it. But at the same time, we continue to monitor the future evidence about whether it does really something that unexpected or unintended adverse effects happen during the continued use.
Absolutely. Great conversation. Thank you so much, Dr. Kim. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Have a great weekend.